Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our second episode of the Sophia's Founders Corner. We're very excited today. We're very happy. We're already, laughing and grinning even pre-recording of the episode, talking to Dr. Shai. I'm very happy that you will get to meet her today and get to know her because me and Sara, have known her for a while, and it has been an absolute pleasure and much more, to be honest. I'll let Sarah talk a bit also about Dr. Shai and our experience with her since we met her. Go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you. First of all, like I know, people say at the podcast, don't say these things, but Ramadan Kareem to everyone. This is the third day of Ramadan when we're doing this, and it's super cool. And we decided to make this recording in the evening, so it's after suhoor time. So we're sipping and drinking, but it's evening our time. To those wondering and thinking. So thank you so much for joining us. I sometimes we have silent listeners on. So thank you for being here. But also it's wonderful to have you, Dr. Shai, and thank you, Rasha, as known for everyone else, but Rashrush to me. So yes, I mean, Dr. Shai has come into our life. What is it now? Almost, I would say 18. It feels like 18 months ago, but I don't know. And we have not met in person, but it's been a wonderful kind of this
Mhm.
beautiful special connection where the minute we get on a call together, we hardly can stop talking. It's just, I think it's Russia is usually the referee to kind of get us into the order of business. So it's been a really heartfelt connection, beautiful in its way. But also, we realize like when you end up talking to someone at that level, you almost don't know too much about their human experience. And hopefully, this podcast will give us a bit of a structure to ask Dr. Shai to put her in the hot seat a bit and ask her some questions, both about her life journey, what led her to this point in her business, and so on. So, yeah. You want me to ask the first question, Rasha?
Sure, go ahead.
If I
All
just
right.
may say thank you to you
Yes.
both. And typically people say, oh, the honor is mine, but really the honor of just connecting to you guys and to your whole team at the Sophia Collective. I promise in life, with friendships and professional life, it's very rare to find such a beautiful, natural, inspiring, motivating, sisterly, loving connection. And I'm so grateful to you guys with all my heart and soul for being a part of my life, for being my mentors, and for being my sisters. So just Ramadan Kareem to everyone watching, but my purest and most unconditional love to both Rasha and Sara. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. And yeah, so let's like dive in a bit and
Thank
and
you.
uh, ask these kind of more practical questions beyond your cats. I think we need to go beyond the cats today, to Russia's pleasure. But you have a company that you started, is it 2 years ago, a bit longer?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about its name, how you got there, what inspired you to start it? And then we can, let us start at that point. Let's anchor there, and then we can go backwards and forwards from that point.
Sure. So SAIF CHECK is the name of the company. SAIF being in Arabic, safe sword. And the idea was to put the sword as a defender, a protector of systems and technology, and check meaning we check systems. So I'll tell you that's behind the name. And how it formed is I'm a medical doctor, I'm a clinical pathologist by training and by practice. And I took a dive into data science to improve my own medical research. That led to machine learning engineering. I formally studied that. And in the process, noticed that there were distinct, not only gaps in the machine learning operations pipeline, which means in developing AI systems for companies. There were gaps that could be quantified, that could be mediated, that could be mitigated. And I spent a significant amount of my time after studying machine learning engineering focusing on the cybersecurity gaps, the governance gaps, the data and the model gaps, and put that all together into a check system, which we called SAIF CHECK. And that was the birth of the company. And the idea is, and the slogan for it is to know trustworthy AI. And that is where the intention behind the company came, and that we know that technology is developing so quickly. And to my happiness, people have adopted technology just as quickly as it's developing. It hasn't been as much of a lag as you would think, but that doesn't mean we as a human society necessarily know how to make sure that what we're using is trustworthy or that we feel we can trust what we're using. So it was the trust element I really wanted to inject into this growing technology. And as it scales, as we go into quantum AI systems or mycelium networks or whatever is next, I wanted people to have some way of saying we have some level of trust and coordination with the machines rather than the technology is leading us beyond our own control. So that's the story of SAIF CHECK.
Not.
We've built a series of tools that all follow that same premise, looking at cybersecurity, governance, data, and models. So the first tool is a no data sharing, no code sharing prompt dashboard, so prompt query dashboard. So our co-pilot will take, let's say, Rasha, if you were to use it, it would ask you a series of questions or give you a series of prompts that you connect to your data and your model system. We extract the information that's needed to create like a blueprint of your system. And then in doing that, we identify where there could be issues. So for example, we might ask, just to give a very simple example, about the training data you used, what's the mean, the median, the standard deviation, the range. Now we know the shape of the data, and we can say your data is not shaped evenly, therefore there's bias, so you can
Mm.
expect biased output. Or the shape of your training data doesn't match your post-deployment data, so you can expect something called data drift or model drift. So in that way, in
Mm.
that first tool, we don't interact with your coder data, but we can still get the information needed to produce a picture with the recommendations on how to fix whatever we've identified. The second tool is an automated tool that lets a dashboard connect with your multi-agentic AI repository, so your source code for an agent system, and it
Hmm.
provides a real-time tracing of all the activity happening and then alerts the user to say these are risks, whether they're again in cybersecurity or governance or data and model. This is where your risks are. This is how to fix it. And then now we have a new tool we're rolling out, which is our own homegrown agent that will also do all of the above in a very automated, immediate kind of way. So it allows people to be compliant
No,
with
that's
things like
brilliant.
ISO or NIST or their local governance
Yeah.
compliance can become automatically compliant. But you can also ensure that within your company and to your own customers, you can say, listen, we're sure from a safety and from a security perspective that you can trust our system. That's what we're trying to make happen.
Mm. It's like you're creating a new level of the ISO certification. It's like in the age of AI, right?
Yeah.
If I go into a website or into a platform and I see that it's 100% authorized by or reviewed or audited by SafeCheck, for me, I will feel more comfortable knowing that someone and an entity went in and checked whether the AI is being unbiased and fair, etc. So that makes a huge difference for users as well.
That's exactly our intention.
Yeah,
That's
no,
the
it's
goal.
beautiful.
And who is like, you think, for example, I'm just looking for those possibly listening to from the Sophia Collective and others. Who are you looking at to be your customers? Who can contact you to make this a reality on their sites or apps or whichever way path you go?
So the most interested parties should be people who have what we call infrastructure critical domains, and that would be like in legal tech and health tech, education tech, these systems where the output of an AI system and in fintech, the output can really make a difference in terms of the company's reputation or their own customers' life, life and death or money, life and death. Those are the ones who are most interested. But for founders who are starting new companies, for example, or for companies who are now digitizing and becoming more automated in their processes, it's a good time to say, let's make sure that this doesn't become a regulatory nightmare, or we don't invest all of our time and money digitizing and automating and then suddenly find out that we've missed some key gaps or we were overconfident in our security posture. And I've seen that a lot in a lot of discussions with existing companies who are trying to make that paradigm shift between the traditional website and SaaS model to AI systems. And it's a different species. They're not the same, and that's why the ISO changes, and that's why there are
Yeah.
their own regulatory frameworks. But people who go in and say, "Oh, but we have security for our website, therefore we're okay," are not necessarily aware of data leakage or adversarial attacks or prompt injections. And again, while those are things to be concerned about, it always comes back to the trust issue. Have you built a product that you yourself can trust as a company owner or builder, and that you can tell your own customers you can trust it? So if you're a hospital with an AI chatbot or an agent, are you sure that every bit of information going to the patients who are vulnerable and in need, are you sure of the information that they're getting? Are you sure that when they log in, they're not at risk of being exposed? How sure are you? That's what we are at SafeCheck saying. We know that it's difficult to discern how safe your system is. Let us come in, as Rasha said, let us come in as a sort of third party, and do that penetration testing and do that quality evaluation.
Yeah, no, this is really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that and explaining that. I think the big part for me as I'm listening to you and I look a little bit at what we're doing with Sophia in general, because we're really looking to validate as well kind of that whole human experience, like part of the evolution where we've gone, as you know, from Sophia 2.0 to Sophia 3.0 is to it's like create a guarantee that the people we're working with, we know they're human. Like we know that they are actually, and we know kind of their intentions behind the work that they're doing. And I feel like we're doing that in the human element, and it's almost like you're doing the same in the digital space. I don't know if that like makes any sense, but
Perfect. In fact, something I wanted to bring up, I was just thinking about it today, and maybe it's a slight shift on what you said, but so number one, I'm a physician, so I always looked at diagnostics and prescriptions for humans based on patterns, right, within a human body. And you'd say, this is the way your body is functioning, this is optimal, this is what's suboptimal or pro-optimal. And then you make the diagnostic based on that data, right? And then similarly with these AI systems, I'm doing the same thing. At SafeCheck, we're diagnosing and we're prescribing, but not necessarily uh, executing the therapy for someone. We're saying, here's your prescription, follow it or not. But on a more human level, to speak to exactly what you said, and I guess this is something maybe typically is not talked about with founders, and especially female founders. There's this ideal persona of a founder, or the ideal entrepreneur persona, and it's the look that we see on the news or on social media of these tech bros, that are standing, or even
Mhm.
the tech sisters or whatever they're called. But they have this look, they have this certain perfection about them. And for within my own experience, I know that we're not perfect, and we're not. I mean, we don't know how fashion consultants or know how to look and how to speak and how to be perfect at all times, but more on the human level specifically. For example, I had this autoimmune condition that I was diagnosed with, and you don't see people in leadership positions ever expressing their vulnerability and saying, for example, I'm not perfect. So, as part of the founder journey or the founder's journey specific to SafeCheck, I've had a chance to look at my own data, not a patient
Mm.
who needs diagnosis and not a machine, but I've learned to take in my own data points in the same way that I'm applying to SafeCheck systems, which is kind of
Mm.
counterintuitive. Like I learned it after building it for the computer systems to look
yeah.
at myself and take note, okay, today my joints are hurting, or I have a flare up, or I feel this today. I've identified the risks. How can I mitigate it? How can we change diet? How can we change lifestyle? What are the right professionals to see? And I think that's something that is often not talked about in the founder experience, especially with women. And I definitely, in the early part of it, felt shame. I felt embarrassed. I just wanted to go to events and speak perfectly. But as I've learned to tune into my own signals and kind of cancel out the noise, I think the journey of building SafeCheck, both from an entrepreneurship perspective, but also a technical perspective, has helped me improve my own life journey, my own self-healing,
Mm,
so to
Yeah,
speak.
mm,
and how much power has that given you like that? I because what I'm hearing, it's almost like an element of freedom where you don't have to fit a certain mold. And
Yep.
when you had that discovery, how has that been?
Exactly as you said it. It's enlightening. It's freeing. It's coming into your own, as they say. And I think we've heard these colloquialisms and you don't know what they mean until you experience it. So it's very much coming into your own and finding your path confidently within yourself and saying, I know who I am, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the whole package. And it's for me to define it. It's for me to make the best of the cards that I've been dealt with, for example. So that's how you feel coming into your own. At the same time, it allows you to
mm.
be authentic without feeling embarrassed or without trying to meet the status quo, and if that's the case and you can do that, who knows, maybe you inspire a 12-year-old kid in the other end of the world, or maybe someone else who's going through what you're going through. I don't know. I think there's something about truth and authenticity that resonates across all humans. And that's been part of
Yeah.
the beauty of this experience that I've had, and I'm so grateful for that. I don't know that I would have had it following my drone-like routine in the hospital, but when you're forced as a founder to create and take risks and face the unknown. I've come as a scientist background, medicine and engineering, into the business world. Every day is a learning journey, but I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable in that learning journey, and that's the freedom.
Beautiful.
No, I think, yeah, you inspire us. Not just,
No question.
just so you know, you already are inspiring a lot of people, including us. Um, I have a question. Sorry, I cut off a bit earlier, but how do you how do you handle rejection,
First of all, the
especially as
rejection
a female
sensitivity
founder
syndrome.
that is raising?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You, one of the, I think, therapeutic aspects of being a founder is you just have to, it's sort of like when they say you have to slay your dragons, or face your demons.
yeah,
You can have rejection
yeah.
sensitivity, syndrome or dysphoria as much as you want, but as a founder, you get it so often that you just have to take it in your stride and accept it as, okay, it's another
Yeah.
rejection today. Is there a lesson I can learn? Yes. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's just the rubric of the world. I think you learn that this sort of matrix type world that
That's
we live in,
beautiful. Yeah.
it's sometimes there's no good reason behind it. Sometimes there is a good reason. There's an element of, I want to say, belief, where you become the observer rather than the experiencer. I think that's a very Sophia like concept,
Hmm.
if that makes sense to you.
Very much so. Yes.
Yeah.
And in doing that, after a certain amount of rejection, you can't take it. I mean, if you're living in this shell, in this body, and you keep getting rejected, you're gonna crack. So naturally, if you spend time on yourself trying to learn how to be better or grow, you're going to take a step back and take that observer role and say, this is what's happening. I wonder why. It's like separating the mind from the body, or the soul from the mind, that kind of um, differentiation, although they're all connected. And then suddenly you don't
Hmm.
take things
Hmm.
personally anymore. You're not emotionally affected by every experience. You're just observing and saying, is there a good lesson? Yes, no, whatever, move on. Next.
Yeah.
Resilience, I guess. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, becoming the observer. Yeah, becoming the observer, I think, is just a brilliant concept, and it's very much alive in all the, different meditation practices. Is that you are out of your mind and you are just observing, for you to be able to learn how to navigate, to learn to become better, for you to be able to live in the present more, more often and more frequently. So yeah, that is something definitely
If I
noteworthy.
can just add, there's this, I've been doing this heart math meditation, and my heart coach, Barb Fletcher, she's such an inspiration. She helped me with this observer practice without me realizing it,
Mm.
but she always taught me to go back to the heart space. And I think it's something so simple yet so profound that has entirely augmented every facet of my life, from personal, mental, spiritual, physical, going back into that heart space and just operating authentically from, it doesn't have to be love per se, it has to be from your heart, whatever
Mm.
your heart is telling you. If you're an observer and then you make a decision from your heart, you don't have regrets, you don't go back and ruminate and think, oh, should I, shouldn't I, is it the right,
Mm.
this thing here doesn't guide you wrong. It's like the real golden compass. So that's helped me
Yeah.
a lot, in especially with reject, even with wins, with highs and lows, both ways. It kind of
Yeah.
centers you somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same thing as well when,
And
I
have
had a guru at some point that talked about never really almost celebrate, and you could be sad, but never ride the lows and the highs. Just stay the course in a way and keep going, because it really nothing ever lasts, the good or the bad in a way. And ultimately,
mm.
staying grounded in that. I love what she told you with this, with regards to that aspect. And it sounds quite powerful, and it is very much Sophia aligned in that way. And one of the
Mm.
things we believe a lot is that entrepreneurs really go through um, a journey, right? Like it's not just, it is such a, a mirror kind of concept. Like you ultimately get to see so much of who you are and the type of people that will reflect a bit of kind of every aspect of growth and development and soul finding journey. That and probably the fastest path to that is to choose to be an entrepreneur, because of the elements that we talked about with rejection, or maybe um, abandonment, or any type of source that you feel disappointment. There's so many of those feelings that happen daily, weekly, etc. So it's quite powerful. I'm
I
just
mean, that's why
wondering.
Sophia Collective is so important for me. Sorry to interject, but
Yeah, no,
all
go ahead.
those things you
Mm.
talked about, I remember from the first conversation I had with you guys and until now, and I'm sure, inshallah, always,
Inshallah.
just knowing you guys were there with good intentions and good heart helped me on dark days. You have good weeks, you have bad weeks, you have ups and down days. And then when you just know you have a support system that's aligned with you sort of in your values or your ethics or spirit, I don't know, there's so many ways I feel we're the same in a good way, in a nurturing way. That I am so grateful to you guys, as individuals, but as a collective, as Sophia, and for what Sophia stands for. It keeps you, it's like having a light on the dark days.
Mm.
Thanks
So
for
thank
saying that,
That's
Dr. Shah.
beautiful. Mm.
I was talking with someone the other day. She's quite young. And one of the things we talked about was, how is she keeping her lights on? How is she feeling? Is
Mm.
her light still on? Because as she's going through, going from the university to multiple cities, multiple jobs, how is she feeling? And that was exactly the question I actually asked her, or how is she keeping the lights on? And to make sure to keep that light on, no matter how dim it might get at some point. So it's funny that you say that, exactly the same statement of that. And I do believe that the power really transfers in words and energy and emotion. So grateful that you feel that way.
I think it's what you
It feels
put out.
emotional for me right now.
But for whoever is listening, to know that there is a space for those who want to follow the path of light, if that's what you want to call it. There, you don't have to follow the status quo. If the whole world seems like corrupt or dark or doing things that you don't stand for, but that's what, and sometimes that's crossed my mind. I've seen success in the way of, oh, but the way that so and so or this group achieves success is misaligned with my values. Does that mean I can't ever reach success? It's a thought that crosses your mind. And for what I'm saying is, to the people who are out there who are listening, or just to you guys, you've let me know that there is a support network, there is that light, and it's okay to be exactly who you are and how you are, and you can still find support and success
Mm.
in the way that feels ethically correct. So I
Thank
want to
you.
thank you.
You're welcome. We're
Yeah.
so grateful for you, Dr.
Amazing
Shai.
wording. Yeah, we are. I
But
have a question though. So taking it back to the startup world, my question is, how do you make sure that all of these values and ethics and beliefs are translated into the culture that you are trying to build in SafeCheck?
It's a really good question. You build whatever you build as a company, and you all would know this. You build it with your own values, and they kind of echo. It's like in a room where it echoes around. So whoever joins the team will naturally feel those same things. And if it resonates with them, going back to what Sara said, the Rumi kind of quote about the mirror, if it resonates, it comes back. The reflection amplifies,
Mm,
so to speak. So if you put out happiness and positive vibes and somebody joins the team and they have that same reflection, it gets amplified and the whole team lights up. The reality is that there have been many people who've come and gone from SafeCheck, or people that I've thought, I guess my character judgment still is a skill that I'm working on. But sometimes, you just believe, this person's great, and or this engineer is going to be a good asset, and then you find that that energy doesn't resonate back, and so you learn very quickly to almost, when they say fail quickly, but I don't mean it in the
yes,
entrepreneurship way. I mean even with
yeah.
interactions. So when I recognize sort of the red flags, I'm like, cut quickly. Don't keep it hanging around, so that the almost like if it's a garden, the good seeds have space to grow rather than getting eaten up by the weeds, you know?
Mm,
So that's been a journey. As much as you can put out and you hope that everyone will reflect the same, they won't always. But the ones that do, stay and keep the energy up. And the ones that don't, you just have to let it go and move on, which has been a harder lesson, by the way, because detaching, it's part of that
mm,
becoming observer thing. But you get emotional sometimes and you don't want to
yeah,
detach. And a company's like a baby. It's like
of
your
course.
everything you put into it. You need to protect the company and not protect your
Mm,
ego or someone else's ego. And that's
yeah.
taken me a while to learn.
Hmm. I totally understand, like, especially the part about the energy, because, at the end of the day, everything is energy. We just like sometimes forget about that part.
We
but
I think we all know it and feel it. It comes back to us.
Yeah,
And
and,
we'll
and
learn it in science or otherwise. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah.
when you're talking about, learnings in a way, what what has been something that's kind of given you both the most elation, but also maybe the most heartache on this journey that you feel others coming on as entrepreneurs can relate to or learn from, if there's something that comes to mind or heart?
The most specific example, I mean, from a life perspective, I'll tell you it's my animals, but from the entrepreneurship perspective, when you first get your validation from your first customer, so you've built something, you've had an idea, it's now concrete, it's out there in the world, and a customer will use it and give you the exact validation that you said, this is what I wanted. What I didn't realize is after that, there's a whole new roller coaster. There's another cycle, and that is scaling it or making sure that that experience can be consistently repeated with other customers, or taking feedback again without the ego, which is it's tough. So you take criticism and feedback from the customer rather than you enforcing your own idea of what the customer should want and say, actually hearing what they say and then iterating your product or pivoting your product as is necessary. So it's elating in that you get this validation. It's also heart-wrenching in that you sometimes have to say, I got my validation, but it needs to be changed into something that I hadn't originally envisioned. And that a lot of it comes down to ego busting. Like you just kind of have to get over yourself and say, I don't know everything and I can't speak for my customer. My customer speaks for his or herself, and I can only then accommodate them, which is some sort of um, mental construction in that you go in as a scientist saying, I've built something so great, and then you have to go in with your entrepreneur hat hat and say, does the customer want this? And they don't always match. So that's where that feedback
Mm.
comes in. And you go back and you say, okay, how
Yeah.
can I make this what they want?
Yeah, that's actually a beautiful share. I think a lot of times what we end up doing, because we see it in building our own kind of, beautiful space, is that we sometimes want to build and, get ahead of ourselves, but we don't know the reaction out there of, our members, or, just anyone that might be attracted to this. And it is really such a big balance to learn when to build, when to stop, how to look, how to engage. And then sometimes whatever thought you had, maybe even you get some validation, but maybe the majority wants something different. So this whole idea of being flexible, and being kind of, it's the concept of like the ability to iterate, right? Like to constantly just figure out, okay, I have to fix, I have to, and then ultimately, obviously, scalability. Those are, we're
Mm.
facing the same thing right now in how we make that happen in a brilliant way.
Yeah, it takes a bit of creativity, a bit of resilience, but then and there is some element of persistence that you do need to have because, for example, what in my own experience, having built SafeCheck, I knew the place of intention that I was building it from, and I knew the end goal. So they always tell you to have that vision of the end
Yeah,
goal, and they always tell you to have a clear intention. You have these things, and then you find out that when it's placed in the real world doesn't necessarily align with commercial
yeah,
interests. So then what do you do? Do you stick to your belief and instinct, or do you change? And but if you change, then are you going to have to keep changing? So it's like a dance. You have to find the rhythm between both and say, this is what I intended, this is how the
Mm.
customers want it. And I'm still figuring that dance out. I'm still in the process of ironing it out to get the right rhythm. And I guess
and
that's part of the journey.
yeah, I know 100%. How do you deal with when it comes to, for example, investors, or people that are supporting you when it comes to that? Because that's the biggest part. Like the post almost always changes and shifts. And as a founder, either want to ride that wave, or stay focused, whichever way. Like there's so many different messages that come. How do you balance between that vision and that objective, and then a bit of what's required from the, like, whoever has provided you
That
some
has been
goods?
one of the toughest components of the entrepreneurship journey, what you just described. And I think there's a certain amount of, it goes back to that authenticity, but the strength in your authenticity. So if you know what you're building and what you've built and you know why, not all investor groups understand what you've built. So these are people who understand the world of finance and the world of return on investments, but they mightn't understand the technical premise of what you've built or the spiritual basis of the community you've built or whatever it is you're building out there. An investor group might not really grasp that value. And so from a founder's perspective, if you want the investment, you have to go in and say, what trade-offs am I willing to make? And you have to know yourself to make that decision. So you say, am I willing to sacrifice the shape of the company or the employees in the company or the design of my product or the channels of sales to satisfy the money that will come in from investors or not? And that's a
Mm.
tough thing, especially I think when there's two co-founders, because now it's you'll have to deal with different sets of emotions. In my case, as a solo founder, I'm just left battling my own emotions. Maybe that's not, I don't know. But so that's the one thing. But the other thing is when you're presenting to investors, you have to know the value yourself. And it's very, I've seen it in these like pitching competitions where people get very disheartened or they get very happy based on feedback from investors. I'm not sure, in my opinion, I don't think it's good to define your own value or your company's value based on what investors say is good or bad.
Mm.
And I've said no to multiple investors. I've been rejected by a ton more investors. Many told me,
Mm.
oh, you're too early in the game, or this is too advanced, or this is, and that's all correct. I mean, they're not wrong. These are statements of fact from their perspective. Cool. But it
Yeah.
led me down the path of saying, I'll prefer to deal with angel investors and not VCs, because I don't want to become an employee to a VC in a company that I built for freedom and safety. So I didn't
Mm.
want it to be corrupt. But that's not to say in a few years that doesn't change. I don't know. It's all
Yeah.
part of the journey, you know, and that's
Yeah,
a,
it's true for you now.
yeah, it's true for me now. And
Mm.
but I think it all comes down to that same conversation you have with yourself at a particular moment. What are you willing to trade from? Maybe it's values, maybe it's your time, maybe it's your freedom, maybe it's whatever. What are you willing to trade for money?
Okay. So, as a founder who's obviously, has been through an amazing journey, you have a big heart, you have beautiful energy, you have all of these, amazing frameworks that you work within. How do you feel? And a founder who is also working heavily in AI and under the huge, AI umbrella. How do you think AI will impact the lives of future founders, potential entrepreneurs, women who are listening to us and they have these ideas that where AI can help build these ideas and bring them to MVP or to reality. How do you feel about all this AI talk happening and all these platforms
I
coming up?
it's AI, like any other tool, whether it's the hammer or the scissor or whatever
Mm,
tool we've had in life, the internet, there's a good side and there's an upside and a downside. Okay.
yeah,
But the perspective on what they are varies between people. In my perspective, people are embracing this tool and the tool is embracing us. I've had talks with Gemini, like after I went to the hospital and I said, this and this.
yeah.
And Gemini was like the best friend I could have ever asked for. Like,
Mm,
I got feedback like, you got this, and this is what this means. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, great. So there's a way to embrace AI and then
mm,
ask it, how can I improve my pitch deck? Or how can I
yeah.
improve my sales? And you get this great feedback, oftentimes relevant, oftentimes irrelevant, but you get
Hmm.
this help that previously we would have to maybe get on a ship and sail around the world to find that kind of help. You know, it wasn't always accessible, and now it is at the snap of a finger. So I believe that there's a way to work with this technology in a beautiful way that can augment your efforts and your experience. The flip side is a reality that at the moment must be addressed, in that so many processes that AI can do have now replaced the need for the people. It's the
Mm,
same story, but a different end of the spectrum.
mm,
So, like, we're preparing for this event, and our co-host was saying she needs a graphic designer. And then I put her onto a tool that's free online. And then she came back and said, I guess we don't need a graphic designer anymore. This is so perfect. It understood exactly what we wanted and designed it perfectly. So that's great. As for her as an entrepreneur, she got something done, saved money,
mm.
task completed. At the same time, we just put someone else, a human, out of potential employment.
Or mm,
And that's a reality we have to accept now, that the vast majority of things that we used to get paid for as people, we don't need anymore. And
mm,
that's the downside, I think. And what do we do?
yeah,
Maybe we use this time to become a better community, but people need to put
exactly.
bread
Yeah.
on the table. So,
I
yeah.
think this is what Sophia 3.0 is all about. I think it's about realizing that and helping people upskill, helping people gain skills, not just on AI, the tools that we know, but like all these tools that are out there to help them utilize their skills and their knowledge in the age of AI better to be able to start their own businesses or become highly employable and feel more secure, more confident, more comfortable as well. And during these times, I don't know, Sarah, if you wanted
Crucial.
to.
Yeah, I mean, this is so beautiful that you both talked about this because
Mm,
we're ultimately the goal is to have people move from fear to courage with
mm,
regards to this. And, obviously with us, but those listening to us get to know the Sophia Collective. Its goal right now is to move away from fear because there's such huge unknown to so many people. I think we're actually quite lucky to even be having this conversation, today being February 2026. There are people around the world that don't actually yet know what's coming, and they're continuing to work, let's say in web design or some of these elements in the old traditional way that we've worked, completely unaware that there is a wave of shift that's taking place. So they don't even know that there's time to retool or upskill, whatever it is. And we're hoping as a Sophia collective that if people that are in that space, we are already starting to offer, like whether it's vibe coding classes and things like this, but also, looking at crazy collaborations with like companies like something called Coach U, that Rasha actually founded, and looking to see how we can bring about coaches that can help in this space,
Mm.
not because of like just heart math and things like this, but coaches that can retool themselves and become coaches to others in the space of the unknown. So it's a whole space of helping and shifting and transforming our societies, ultimately
Mm.
for community purpose. But the key is to let people know that they have agency. And I think that's what we've lost along the way, is many of us don't know that we have the power, because everyone talks with these tools as if they're on us, almost like there's not.
Mm.
And I think the shift is that still know that we really have this beautiful creativity, still know that we do matter and we are important. And that shift is what we want to bring about. And we want to be known for this. We want to be known that if you have a friend that needs that, tell them to come. And we're actually scaling it, Dr. Shai. We're now, it's been kind of through our community, but now if, people join us, there's scalability across. It doesn't matter where they're sitting. We will support them, if they're in the Netherlands, if they're in DC, if they're in Jordan, if they're in Saudi, you name it, that we want to be there for people. They can just come in and know that there is a Sophia community, online right now, but also we
Mm.
certify that whoever they're working with is a human. That's the
Exactly.
part, is that we are going to
Yeah,
make sure, like, I know them, I've met them, they are human.
It's a double win. It's a win for those who get to give back, and it's a win for those
exactly.
that get to learn. I think it's beautiful. It's brilliant what you're doing. And not only brilliant, very crucially, urgently needed at the
Yeah,
moment in this
that's
time
how
of
we feel. It's
transition.
really a giving thing, right? Like it's such a service oriented drive, that we know it's needed, and we also know it will be, even financially beneficial few years from now. But many people don't see that today. So it is, we know, like how you've done the safe check, and you're like projecting that this is a possibility. And I think we're doing the same. And I think this is why we find so much alignment, actually, in kind of values, is that we're able to look around the corner where no one else is looking right now and going, okay,
Mm.
this is coming, and how do we prepare for this in the best possible way with the best intentions and the best ethics.
Yeah, and this is what people will eventually recognize. Like we said, with the truth, there's always a stage of recognition. But when you're pathfinders, as I'll call us, the sort of the people who make the path, that's the leadership role. That's what, and a lot of founders have to own that responsibility of saying, I'm going to be walking alone as I make the path in this field, and then step aside and then guide the others to follow that path. And I think that's what you guys are doing, and that's where we feel that similarity in terms of
Mm.
we've seen something ahead. We know that we need to get there. No one else is doing it, and it's urgently needed. Let's
Mm.
take the path and take the step. But that means walking through the bushes or through the terrain that no one has walked through before. And
Yeah,
that's where the resilience
that's
is
what
needed.
thick skin is for.
Yeah. And you know what? I just had a thought that for many people, it might be those who, like the unknown and like adventures and take risks and, they make the jumps all the time. For them, this is like second nature. This is what they do best. This is where they shine and thrive. But for another segment, the unknown is very scary, and it's, dark and it's the worst case situation. So I think having people like you, for example, Dr. Shai, that is, very into the unknown and, leading the path and creating a path for others, it really inspires so many people to, what? What's the best that can happen versus what's the worst that can happen, which we tend to sometimes fall into that trap.
It's like a leap of faith, right? But it is
Yeah.
scary. I mean, it's not to say you don't have fear, but then, like Sara said, we need to consciously make a decision. Do we want fear or love? And
Yeah.
making that
Love
jump over
always wins.
faith. Yeah, love always wins.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think we need to
follow.
show people what it looks like when love wins.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the part, is that sometimes what's in our face all the time when fear wins, but we need to
Mm,
show examples of what it looks like when love wins. And here's an
mm,
example of one. And this is the part of, again, is that we want to support founders like you, Dr. Shai, who are going out there and saying, this is what it looks like when love wins. This is what it looks like when ethics win. This is what it looks like when
mm.
I take a little bit of courage here, and how we support each other. But, on that note, I think we can talk forever. So I think there's probably
Yeah.
a couple of questions, so we don't keep you all night.
Yeah.
But one is that, speaking of support, like, how can we support you and
Mm,
our community and those that listen? What are ways to, because you are kind of, your business model is more like, B2B in a way, right? So how does a person listening to this, um, in their coffee shop or whatever it is, in the wellness field, etc., how can they support someone like you? What can we do as a community and as a collective to help you?
As Sophia Collective, I'll tell you, being the light in the dark room is more help than I could have ever dreamed or fathomed of asking. So that support and that love and these words of encouragement is serving a very significant role in my life that I don't think should be minimized or diminished in any way. It is everything. It means literally everything. For the average listener or for a business owner, yeah, we're B2B, but they say everything starts with intention. I think all major theologies and religions comes with everything starts with intention. And if people's intention is that we want to operate from love or operate from a safe space, that means we
mm,
use AI tools conscientiously and not just say, here, GPT, here's my credit card information, have a good day. No, we operate with a level of knowingness, which like communities like yours is providing to people, with a level of awareness from an intention perspective, so that we want to know we're safe. It means if you're a mother of kids and you know your kids have access to AI, demand that there's child safety checks on the apps that are being used. Like we have that at Safe Check. I think there's a few others out there doing it, but until people in the masses, in numbers, tell organizations like schools or whoever, listen, we want to make sure that our kids are safe using this. We want safety checks. We want to be taught and informed about what happens to
mm,
our data and our kids' data. Or if you're in the finance industry and you know that you're dealing with people's passwords and personal information, and in the age of quantum cryptography and quantum chips, you know that that's all going to get shot out the window really quickly unless post-quantum cryptography assessments are done and alignments are done. People need to start from an intentional perspective saying, we demand, we want more safety around the tools that we are using. That would be the best way to help me and my business in the long run,
mm,
because it helps our mission statement and our vision statement, which is keep everyone safe as the technology grows. And then the most concrete, tangible way to help is to spread the word that SafeCheck does this business, and we do B2B, and we'd love to help any business. We would love to help as many infrastructure critical businesses or founders to build, whether it's through customized experience or using our existing tools, to build in a responsible way that is not for the sake of, oh, we are the world, we are the children, responsible. No, responsible meaning it's going to protect the investment you've made on what you've built, and it's going to protect your business from litigation, and it's going to protect your reputation. And there's a lot of very hard business facts that surround risk around AI products or quantum AI products. But ultimately, this all comes down to a collective consciousness of wanting to know that we're safe and wanting to be aware of what's happening around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We usually ask those that come in to do the podcast to ask the next guest a question. And so the last person we had, his name is Daniel Exter, and he is the founder of Nuit. He was on our last podcast. So he asked a question to you and said, the question is, what gives you energy and how do you stay energized and motivated? That
I
was his
totally have the
question.
answer for this, and then I'll have a question for the next.
Yeah, exactly. And then you give us a question for the next person.
But I think you both know what gives me my energy, but I'm gonna say it. I get an unlimited, alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful. I get an unlimited amount of love from my pets, from Yoda, Chewy, and Obi, and they teach me every
They're so
moment of
cute.
every day a patience, a love, a gratitude, a beauty, a simplicity. It fills me with literally unlimited energy, and I can never stop loving them enough, and I can never stop working hard enough to give them what they need. And then they allow me to spread that love to animals and humans outside and to my work. And that's the source. So I've been
Beautiful.
gifted with love, and that love gives me unlimited energy.
It's beautiful. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. And do you have a question? You know, we don't give a heads up. Maybe this will
Yeah.
become a little bit old when people start listening and then they know that this is happening. But for now, for the first few, they don't know that it's happening. Do you have a question for the next guest that we would host?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of questions. I have a ton of unlimited questions in life.
Just one.
One question to ask the next founder or the next guest is, um, how can we, how does the next guest, how do you maintain resilience after getting knocked down? How do you pick yourself
Mm,
back up after getting knocked down? We all ask our friends this question. So it's
yeah.
a great question to ask and hear what different people say. What picks you back up after you've been knocked down?
I had this question written for you in the beginning,
Oh,
but
really?
yeah, we did not stay on course as we usually
As
do. So,
usual.
but that's a beautiful question. I'll second that one.
And for me, like I said, what picks me up is it's it's energy, it's faith, it's
Mm,
this source of love. And ultimately, remember that goal we talked about that you set when you first found a project, like when you guys first decided to do Sophia Collective? There's an energy in that idea
mm,
that doesn't go away, no matter what changes or what shapes the company takes on. That energy persists, and that keeps me going, and that picks me up. I keep saying, but you know why you're doing this. And I guess some people call that the mission statement. For me,
mm.
that mission statement is very real, and I look at it every day, and I tell myself, we're building a safer, more responsible tech society. There's a good reason for it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Well, on
that's
that note, Dr.
perfect.
Shai, thank you so
Yeah.
much for being with us on this third day of Ramadan. It's beautiful to
Mhm.
have you. It's always nice to talk to you. And inshallah, until next time, we wish you the best of luck and great success
Inshallah.
always.
Allah,
Inshallah,
thank you.
always.
Wishing you guys every success, every moment, every bit of love and energy. And my heartfelt thanks for your support and your motivation and your inspiration and this opportunity to be with you today. Have a great rest of the month.
Thank you. Ramadan
Thank you.
Kareem.
Ramadan Kareem. Bye.
See you. Bye.